People who exhibit neurodiversity are those whose neurological functioning and development deviate from the norm in terms of dominant societal standards. Because Sigma empaths defy accepted norms of cognition and behavior, they are regarded as neurodivergent persons due to their wide range of neurological variances. The following 8 factors indicate that a Sigma empath is neurodivergent. 1. A distinct empathetic patterns. Sigma empaths are distinguished by their distinct pattern of empathy, which is analogous to certain experiences typically associated with neurodivergent persons. The ability to comprehend and feel another person's emotions is known as empathy. Empathy can take many various forms in different people, with people with Sigma pathways exhibiting more deep and intense sympathetic reactions. Their capacity for empathy frequently transcends traditional limitations, enabling them to perceptively and deeply understand motivations, emotions, and energy. Because of their unique pattern of empathy, Sigma empaths may experience emotional overload from others, making it difficult to distinguish between their own feelings and those of individuals they come into contact with. Neurodivergent people often negotiate their empathic experiences in unusual ways, perhaps experiencing difficulty with boundaries or the depth of emotional attachments. One can make connections between the complex and elevated compassionate patterns of Sigma affects and the distinct empathic experiences frequently linked to neurodivergence. Since they overlap and crossover between different neurodivergent traits and empathic capacities, Sigma empaths are in fact also neurodivergent. Clear way to navigate nonverbal communication. The majority of Sigma empaths have an extraordinary capacity to navigate and interpret nonverbal cues and communication in ways that deviate from accepted standards. This skill is reminiscent of experiences frequently linked to neurodivergent individuals. In human connection, nonverbal communication is crucial because it can express intentions, feelings, and subtleties that words alone may not be able to express. People who are neurodivergent frequently display abnormal nonverbal communication patterns, occasionally finding it difficult to understand or convey common indicators like tone of voice, body language, or expressions. Similar to this, Sigma empaths may approach nonverbal clues with an increased depth of sensitivity, picking up on nuances and subtleties that others would miss. This particular method of negotiating nonverbal cues might result in unusual readings, reactions, or even difficulties in social situations for Sigma empaths, similar to what some neurodivergent people have gone through. Recognizing this difference in how nonverbal cues are processed and interpreted, one could contend that because of the way that Sigma empaths interpret these cues differently, they have some things in common with neurodivergent individuals. 3. Observe excessive stimulation of sensors. Sigma empaths frequently have to navigate a world where they are more intensely affected by emotional and environmental sensory stimuli. This increased sensitivity and inclination for sensory stimulation are consistent with experiences that people who are neurodivergent often have. Individuals with neurodiversity often have distinct sensory processing patterns, exhibiting either hyper or hyposensitivity to different stimuli, which can result in unusual behaviors or reactions. Similar to neurodivergent people, Sigma empaths may experience sensory overload from loud noises, bright lights, strong odors, or even from the emotions of those around them. Similar to how sensory overstimulation affects many neurodivergent individuals, Sigma empaths may find ordinary situations stressful and overwhelming due to their heightened awareness and vulnerability to external stimuli. Understanding this common experience of sensory sensitivity and overstimulation implies that Sigma empaths fit with particular neurodivergent traits because of their observable responses to sensory input. 4. A strong emotional emphasis often exhibiting a sharp emotional concentration and a deeper emotional processing than the normal individual. Sigma empaths are easily identified. This characteristic is comparable to certain neurodivergent experiences, especially in terms of how people interpret and respond to emotions. Individuals who are neurodivergent often display distinct emotional expression and processes that deviate from societal standards. Similar to this, Sigma empaths are more sensitive to emotional cues and have a keener awareness of their surroundings. They also frequently experience emotions at a deeper level than the normal individual. The strong emotional emphasis that both neurodivergent people and Sigma affects have in common points to a shared understanding of how they process, internalize, and react to emotional cues. Understanding this connection, one might conclude that because of their intense emotional concentration and depth, Sigma empaths are essentially neurodivergent and fit some characteristics of neurodivergence. 5. Adding distinctive viewpoints to exchanges and partnerships. Deep insight into the multiplicity of cognitive experiences is provided by the Sigma empath's alignment with neurodivergence, which is skillfully weaved into the fabric of distinctive viewpoints. Because of their unusual cognitive processes and perceptual styles, neurodivergent people frequently bring unique views to a variety of aspects of life. In a similar vein, the Sigma empath provides a distinct perspective on and understanding of the emotional environments around them due to their enhanced capacity for empathy. This function of neurodivergent and empathic qualities suggests that Sigma empath's viewpoint crosses traditional lines, offering a fresh interpretation of feelings, social dynamics, and cultural standards. It is clear from the diversity of viewpoints that neurodivergent people and Sigma empaths add significant insights to the overall fabric of the human experience. The value of accepting different ways of thinking and feeling is highlighted by Sigma effects that are identified as neurodivergent. This helps to develop a more inclusive understanding of neurodivergence and empathy. 6. Using a different approach in social situations, one prominent area of convergence between neurodivergence and the Sigma empath is social obstacles, which help to navigate interpersonal dynamics and offer light on common experiences. People who are neurodivergent, particularly those on the autistic spectrum, frequently struggle to comprehend social cues, customs, and unspoken social standards. Similar to this, the increased emotional sensitivity of Sigma effects might provide a unique set of difficulties in social situations. Their capacity to form and sustain traditional social bonds may be impacted by the degree to which they take in and process emotional impulses. This commonality of social difficulties implies that, akin to neurodivergent persons, Sigma empaths employ distinct techniques and coping strategies while interacting with others. This is when it becomes clear that those who identify as Sigma empaths are, in fact, neurodivergent people who struggle with the intricacies of interpersonal interactions. They also add to a more complicated knowledge of social dynamics and empathy that goes beyond accepted standards. 7. Diffusing from neurotypical people in how they process information. The Sigma empath's affinity with neurodivergence becomes especially clear when taking into account the idea of unusual processing. Individuals that are neurodivergent have frequently demonstrated unique cognitive processing processes. This trait also affects how Sigma interprets and comprehends emotions. The term neurodivergence refers to a range of circumstances in which people may not process information in the same way as people who are neurotypical. Analogously, abnormal processing of emotional cues and stimuli is also a component of the empathic capacities of Sigma effects. This sophisticated processing shows up as a more acute awareness of minute changes in other people's feelings or a distinct method of combining and organizing emotional data. The intersection of neurodivergent and empathetic qualities indicates that, as we traverse the complex terrain of atypical processing, the unique cognitive style of Sigma empaths may play a role in their enhanced capacity for empathy. The common feature highlights the complex relationship between neurodivergent cognition and empathic processing, influencing how the Sigma empaths perceive the emotional landscape in ways that defy conventional wisdom and highlight the variety present in human cognitive experiences. 8. People who are highly sensitive to emotions. The idea of increased sensitivity is one important way that the Sigma empath and neurodivergence are aligned. People with heightened emotional sensitivity are known as Sigma empaths, and they are frequently identified by their keen awareness of and receptivity to the emotions of and receptivity to the emotions of others. They are similar to neurodivergent people who have increased sensitivity in several areas of their lives. This sensitivity can show up as an enhanced sensitivity to light, sound, or texture stimuli in neurodivergent people, which can lead to variations in how their senses absorb information. The increased emotional sensitivity of the Sigma effects may also be compared to the emotional overstimulation that certain neurodivergent people encounter in social settings. The convergence of heightened sensitivity points to a complex interaction between emotional and sensory processing that leads to the distinctive characteristics of the Sigma empath, suggesting a common thread between neurodivergent and empathic experiences. Investigating this point of intersection provides insight into the intricate web of human variability by revealing the possible connections among neurodivergent features, heightened sensitivity, and empathetic abilities. Since Sigma empaths are made uniquely, they are in fact full of surprises within. Examining the features linked to Sigma empaths, such as high sensitivity, profound empathy, a craving for isolation, and defiance of social norms, we find similarities with traits seen in neurodivergent people. Since Sigma empaths have distinct ways of engaging with the outside world, processing emotions, and sensing stimuli, they are in fact neurodivergent. It appears from this collection of characteristics and experiences that Sigma empaths connect with components of neurodiversity, obfuscating the distinctions between conventional classifications and upending our conceptions of human variety and perception. Could this overlapping constellation of qualities now indicate a more profound relationship between the neurodivergent spectrum as a whole and the other types of impacts?